749 and Shredler is discussing the methodology of evolution. So he has said something yesterday and I will make it even simpler to you. I'll just say, let us say, what is evolution? Evolution is something going from one level to a slightly higher level. Not another level necessarily, but a slightly higher level. Okay, that is evolution. Now, to understand the principle, he is saying that the substance which we begin, let us say the inconscient. Okay, the substance which we begin the inconscient, if it has already got all the elements inside it already, to which it has to evolve, okay, just like the tree and the seed. The seed has already got in it the potential for leaves, branches, fruits, flowers. Okay, so it evolves slowly. And there is another method that something comes from outside. Okay, let us say the inconscient has nothing involved in it, and something comes from outside and changes it. So, let us say I start with a glass of light blue color. Now, in that there is no potentiality for evolving into a better color. Okay. Now I take another glass of another color and pour it into it. Let's say I take pink and pour it into the blue glass. The blue will be affected and the pink also will be affected. Now, Shredler is saying the final evolution would be if the pink that I am putting into the blue becomes fully pink, the glass becomes fully pink, then I know the evolution has ended because it is perfect. That's the basic principle that he's saying. Now, the interesting part is that there is an involution and also there is a pressure from above. Okay, both are there in the physical world that we live in. Our life, mind, and supermind are already involved in inconscient, so automatically they will flower up, they will evolve. But there is another thing. If there is a pressure from the higher life world on the lower inconscient, then the progress will be faster. Now, when life is coming into it, matter is dead, but when life comes into it, it produces living creatures with matter. Okay? But matter is not fully lifed because it is subject to death. It's not full life. Therefore, it is incomplete. Exactly the same way, mind also, when it enters into material which is made into life, it is not that. Mind by itself is full knowledge. Now, full knowledge is not there in the physical world when mind is entering the material of inconscience and life. It is not there. We have got ignorance. Therefore, Shredler is saying the evolution is incomplete. And if it has to be complete, it has to go to another level where there is an original substance which will completely change it to its own character. In other words, knowledge will become full and life will become immortal. Then we can say that the evolution is complete. Okay? That's basically what he's saying. Now we read the para. Okay? So, an original creative or evolutionary power there must be, towards which you are evolving. But although matter is the first substance, the original and ultimate power is not an inconscient material energy. It said the original and ultimate power is a power which has got immortality and which has got full omniscience, total knowledge and total immortality. That is the principle that is coming into matter. Okay. So, for them, life and consciousness would be absent, since inconscience cannot evolve consciousness, nor an inanimate force evolve life. So, from up it is pressing down. There must be, therefore, since mind and life also are not there, a secret consciousness greater than life consciousness or mind consciousness. When life has come into matter, it is not producing entire immortal life, nor is mind coming in and producing absolute omniscience. It is not. They are still ignorant. Therefore, there must be something even higher than life and mind. That's the argument being given. There must be, therefore, since mind and life also are not that, a secret consciousness greater than life consciousness or mind consciousness, an energy more essential than the material energy. Since it is greater than mind, it must be a supramental consciousness force. It's a power of essential substance other than matter. It must be the power of that which is the supreme essence and substance of all things, a power of the spirit. That must be the ultimate aim of evolution, to go to be completely transformed. The material of inconscience can completely transform into the characteristics of the spirit. Then we can say evolution is complete. There is a creative energy of mind and creative life force, but they are instrumental and partial, not original and decisive. That's very clear. I explained to you that it's only producing part reaction. Life is entering into matter and creating a life which is also subject to death. Okay. Mind and life do indeed modify the material substance they inhabit and its energies, and are not merely determined by them, but the extent and way of this mutual modification and determination are fixed by the inhabitant and all-containing spirit through a secret indwelling light and force of Superman, an occult gnosis, an invisible self-knowledge and all knowledge. Occult means hidden, okay? That which is hiding, which you won't see very clearly. If there is to be an entire transformation, it can only be by the full emergence of the law of the spirit. We know that spirit is the final reality. So matter has to become spirit. That's what he's saying. Then we know that the evolution will be complete. Its power of supermind or gnosis must have entered into matter, and it must evolve in matter. It must change the mental into the supramental being, make the inconscient in us conscious, spiritualize our material substance, erect its law of Gnostic consciousness in our whole evolutionary being in nature. This must be the culminating emergence, or at least that stage in which the emergence, which first decisively changes the nature of evolution by transforming its action of ignorance, is based on inconscience. So Shelby is saying, we can see clearly that life and mind have not transformed matter fully. Okay? So when will we say evolution is complete? When the spirit, okay? And what is spirit? It is absolute knowledge. Mind is absolute knowledge, and life is absolute immortality. There is no death at all. So if that comes into inconscience, we can say that the evolution is complete, in a sense. Okay, that's what Shelby said. So I think yesterday we read the summary. So I'll read the summary again once more, okay? And then we'll go on to the next paragraph. Evolution starts, I'm reading the summary. It's not there in the text. You have to only hear. Okay? You have to listen. Evolution starts from matter. It is the original substance that transforms itself in small steps. Okay? Small steps. But matter is not totally unconscious substance, because if it were so, life and mind would not have evolved out of it. Life and mind are already involved in matter. That's what it says. But since neither life nor mind would transform matter completely, it continues to remain apparently unconscious. There must be another ultimate original creative power that could transform matter completely by introducing immortality and consciousness. That power must be above mind. We call it supermind or gnosis. If that power descends from above and enters matter, then death would be abolished and ignorance would be destroyed. Matter would be spiritualized and immortality and knowledge would be openly manifested here itself. Therefore, spirit manifested in matter, that would be the culmination of the evolution. So we can very clearly say evolution has not yet been completed. We are expecting supermind to become absolutely visible to everybody in the physical world. Then we can say that there is some degree of completeness in the evolution. In other words, there will be a race superior to man who will have omnipotence and omniscience, but also immortality. Then we will say that it is possible. Okay? And the whole process has been described in the in series of articles in the supramental manifestation upon earth. It came out in bulletin. Mother asked him to write some articles, and naturally, the last one was this is what he wrote: how the supramental will enter into matter and change it, and a new race will come up. Okay. So we have now finished this para. Now we can go to the next para. This movement of evolution. So who will read? Sunki, can you read?
Yes, Rangada.
Go ahead, read. This movement of evolution.
This movement of evolution, of a progressive self-manifestation of the spirit in a material universe, has to make its account at every step with the fact of the evolution of consciousness and force in the form and activity of material substance. For it proceeds by an awakening of the involved consciousness and force, and it's ascent from principle to principle, from grade to grade, from power to power of the secret spirit. But this is not a free transference to a higher status. The law of action, the force of action of each grade or power in its emergence is determined not by its own free, full, and pure law of nature or beam of energy, but partly by the material organization provided for it, and partly by its own status, achieved degree, accomplished effect of consciousness, which it has been able to impose upon matter. Its effectivity is, in some sort, made up of a balance between the actual extent of this evolutionary emergence and the countervailing extent to which the emergent power is still enveloped, penetrated, diminished by the domination and continuing grip of the inconscience. Mind as we see it is not mind pure and free, but mind clouded and diminished by an enveloping license, mind laboring and struggling to deliver knowledge out of that license. All depends upon the more or less involved or more or less evolved condition of consciousness, quite involved in inconscient matter, hesitating on the verge between involution and conscious evolution in the first or non-animal forms of life in matter, consciously evolving but greatly limited and hampered in mind, housed in a living body, destined to be fully evolved by the awakening of the supermind in the embodied mental being and nature.
So again, we'll follow the same technique. We'll read out the summary first so that we know what he's saying in brief. Then we'll look at the details. Okay. So what he's saying in this para, I'm reading out the summary. The upward progress of the evolution is heavily conditioned by the density and darkness of matter. This is always God. However high you climb, the gravitational downward pull of matter is always there. But a time comes when you go 100 miles outside the Earth atmosphere and then the gravitation disappears. That would be the transformation, that's the evolution which is expected to happen. Okay. The upward progress of evolution is heavily conditioned by the density and darkness of matter which is the starting base of the evolutionary ascent. The progress proceeds by the emergence of the involved powers in matter. So, in matter, life and mind are already there. But life and mind emerging from matter do not possess their original native character. The life and mind that have entered into matter are not the original mind and original life. Okay? The original life has immortality. The original mind has got omniscience. But when they are here, they are obviously not there. It's only halfway mark. Okay? But life and mind emerging from matter do not possess their original nature character. They get diminished, degraded by the density and inconscience of material substance. The actual form of manifested life and mind are combinations of the powers of both, the high emergent and the lower obstinate stability of the inconscient. Life and mind are both restricted and not allowed their free play and power of their native nature. So when life and mind enter into nature, the inconscient is having the last word. You have to obey me, saying the inconscious is saying. Consciousness emerging from matter at first is plant life. It achieves a higher grade with animal life, and even with the emergence of mind, it is still imperfect and ignorant. The supermind's descent into matter will fully manifest the consciousness of the spirit. So that's what it means. The evolution has gone to a certain extent, but one more step is there needed for the evolution to become complete. Okay, so now we will read the paragraph that we read yesterday. This movement of evolution of a progressive self-manifestation of the spirit in a material universe has to make its account at every step with the fact of the evolution of consciousness and force in the form and activity of material substance. So, what does the sentence mean? It means that when evolution is going on, coming from, it will go through several stages. It has to make its account at every step with the fact of the involution of consciousness, at every step with the fact of the involution of consciousness and force in the form. The form is, if you talk of human beings, the form and activity is our body. Okay? Or if you speak of the universe, it enters into a stone or mud. Okay? For it proceeds by an awakening of the involved consciousness and force, and its ascent from principle to principle, from grade to grade, from power to power of the secret spirit. But this is not a free transference to a higher status. It's a very slow progress and incomplete progress. Therefore, it is, we can say that it is still incomplete. The law of action, the force of action of each grade or power in its emergence is determined not by its own free, full and pure law of nature or whim of energy, but partly by the material organization provided for it and partly by its own status, achieved degree, accomplished fact of consciousness, which it has been able to impose upon matter. It depends on how far the evolution has proceeded. Its effectivity is in some sort made up of balance between the actual extent of this evolutionary emergence and the countervailing extent to which the emergent power is enveloped, penetrated, diminished by the domination and continuing grip of the unconscious. What Shelby is saying is, when life is coming into matter, matter is having the last say. Matter is telling life, yes, I am willing to become a little more living, but not fully. You will be conditioned by my own status. And my status is density and fixity. So their life also will become fixed and dense. It will be subject to death. Okay, that's what he said. Similarly, mind also, when it comes in, mind is full knowledge at the spiritual plane of consciousness, but here it is diminishing itself and entering into matter. So, mind as we see it is not mind pure and free, but mind clouded and diminished by enveloping nations, mind laboring and struggling to deliver knowledge out of that nations. This is what science is trying to do. It is full of darkness and is trying to bring some sort of understanding and knowledge into the physical world. All depends upon the more or less involved or more or less evolved condition of the consciousness. Quite involved in inconscient matter, hesitating on the verge between involution and a conscious evolution in the first or non-animal forms of life in matter, consciously evolving but greatly limited and hampered in mind, housed in a living body, destined to be fully evolved by the awakening of the supermind in the embodied mental being and nature. So Sensei is saying that the very obviously life and mind have not been able to transform matter fully. It has only been able to change it to a certain extent. But when will the certain extent become the absolute extent? In the supermind. When supermind comes, the limitations of life will disappear and immortality will be there. And the limitations of mind, which is ignorance, will also not be there when the supermind descends into matter and changes it. This is what Sensei said. Okay? But here also, afterwards, Mother said that there will be a transitional being. So there also, there is a gradation. It's not going to be full. There will be, first of all, a being who will be superior to normal man, like a yogi, okay? And a yogi is superior to man in consciousness. And the word in French is surhomme. So a word has not yet been coined for it in English, but some people use the word Superman, but that's very misleading. So somebody has actually that Belgian author, I forget his name now, who used the word overman. Okay. So that overman will come first, who will be superior to even a yogi, but inferior to the superman. And finally, the superman will come. This was the work that Mother and Sensei were engaged in. So evolution is still going on. That's what it is. Now we go to the next paragraph. What is the time? We have got 15 minutes. So each grade in this series achieved is the evolving consciousness. So next, somebody else has to read. Yasmin, can you read? Yasmin may not be there. So Seema, if you are got the text, you can read.
Yes, please. I can read.
Okay. Then you can read.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. To each grade.
To each grade in this series, achieved by the evolving consciousness, belongs its appropriate class of existence. One by one, there appear material forms and forces, vegetable life, animals, and half-animal man, developed human beings, imperfectly evolved or more evolved spiritual beings, but because of the continuity of the evolutionary process, there is no rigid separation between them. Each new advance of formation takes up what was before. The animal takes up into himself living and inanimate matter. Man takes up both along with the animal existence. There are furrows left by the transitional process or separating demarcations settled by the fixed habit of nature. But these distinguish one series from another, serve perhaps to prevent a fallback of what has been evolved. They do not cancel or cut the continuity of the evolution. The evolving consciousness passes from one grade to another or from one series of steps to another, either by an imperceptible process or by some bound or crisis, or perhaps by an intervention from above, some descent or ensouling or influence from higher planes of nature. But by whatever means, the consciousness secretly indwelling in matter, the occult inhabitant, is able thus to make its way upward from the lower to the higher gradations, taking up what it was into what it is, and preparing to take up both into what it will be. Thus, having first laid down a basis of material being, material forms, forces, existence in which it seems to be lying inconscient, though in reality, as we know now, always subconsciously at work. It is able to manifest life and living beings, to manifest mind and mental beings in a material world, and must therefore be able to manifest their supermind also and supramental beings. Thus has come about the present status of the evolution of which man is now a apparent culmination, but not the real ultimate summit. For he is himself a transitional being and stands at the turning point of the whole movement. Evolution, being thus continuous, must have at any given moment a past with its fundamental results still in evidence, a present in which the result is laboring over are in process of becoming, a future in which still uninvolved powers and forms of being must appear till there is the full and perfect manifestation. The past has been the history of a slow and difficult subconscious working with effects on the surface. It has been an unconscious evolution. The present is a middle stage, an uncertain spiral in which the human intelligence is used by the secret evolutionary force of being and participates in its action without being fully taken into confidence. It is an evolution slowly becoming conscious of itself. The future must be a more and more conscious evolution of the spiritual being until it is fully delivered into a self-aware action of the emergent Gnostic principle.
Quite a big para. Okay. Again, simultaneously, is going step by step. It's so we need the summary first, get the essential, what it's saying in essence. And then what it's saying in that each grade in the evolution is marked by its peculiar nature and characteristics, okay, quite different from the others. First of all, there are material forms and forces. Material forms and forces. Like, for instance, the stones, then the rivers, the water, okay. They are all the material forms and forces, the wind, okay. All this comes into play. Second stage, plant life, okay. It is quite different from the first. The third is the animal life. The fourth is the half animal man, okay, this savage in the jungles of Africa and the Amazon Delta. Then next is the imperfect spiritual man. Right? Seventh is the evolved spiritual being. So these are the steps of evolution. That's what he's saying. And you can see very clearly how it is corresponding to the Dashavatar. Huh? So for instance, the fish is the first one in the water. And then next is the boat, which comes onto land. It is now capable of also being on land. The fish is not capable of being on land. Like that, one by one, then there is a kurma. Kurma is a tortoise, which is capable of both living on land and in the water. Like that, it goes on up. Then Narasimham Narasimham is a half animal and half man stage, which is the savage from the jungles. Okay? The unevolved man. No agriculture, no study, no literacy, nothing. Just surviving like an animal. Then the half animal. Then you come in the Dashavatar, you have the Parashurama. Parashurama is a vital man. Okay? Parashurama is a warrior, he is a vital man. Then next comes all the evolved souls, one by one. Rama, Krishna, and finally you have the Buddha also they include nowadays. And finally you have the Kalki, which is a divine manifestation. Now he is saying, though the differences are considerable, there is yet a continuity in the evolution. Each grade takes up the lower and proceeds to prepare the next higher. There's a huge amount of difference between the plant and the animal, and there's also a big difference between the plant and man, animal and man. So he's saying, if you look very carefully, you will see that there is a continuity. It's not a break. Okay? And we can see that also in a very interesting way. From matter, you come to plant. Okay? So from plant, you come to animal. Okay? Is there something between the plant and animal? Yes. There is the carnivorous plant. Okay? So it's an animal and yet it's a plant. Carnivorous plant. They eat insects, okay, and sustain themselves. Then between man and animal, you have also species of animals which are very intelligent. So you can see also there is this. Also, the difference between life and matter. Okay? Life and matter also, is there something in between? So if you think of the virus, okay, then you see very clearly that virus sometimes behaves like matter, like dead matter, and sometimes behave like a living creature. So you have these gradations. If you look very carefully, you will see that although they seem different, there's still a slow gradation upwards from matter to life to mind and finally to Superman also. The yogi also is like a man, but he is at a higher level of consciousness. Okay? So there is a gradation. That's what I point here. Now, with this one, how much time do we have? We have only 6 minutes. Okay? But basically, the idea is clear that there is an evolution is slow and it is not unlinked. It is not that life is completely different from mind, and it is not that mind is completely different from the higher elements that are coming. They are all linked together. And that link is very important in Sri Aurobindo because he wants the connection between spirit and matter. If the connection between spirit and matter is not there, unfortunately, a divine life on earth will not be possible. And he's saying all this, he's taking a lot of trouble to say this because until now the idea has been that the physical world is undivine. There is nothing of the divine in it. Now Sri Aurobindo is countering that with all the arguments. Okay? So if he doesn't do that, it will not be possible for him to establish that a divine life on earth is possible. That's the whole idea. Okay? We got 5 minutes. So the idea is clear. Next week we can go on to the next one, the first foundation of the emergence. Okay. So if there are any questions we can take, we can deal with the questions. Otherwise, we can stop here today. Any reaction?
What exactly is Kalki? I thought it was a form of the Divine Mother.
No. Kalki is the last avatar. He is the last avatar. There will be no more avatars after that. Okay? And he yes.
So can one say Sri Aurobindo is the last avatar because he realized the supramental?
No, so he is the last avatar because after that, when this supramental race comes in, that itself will be the avatar. So there will be no more avatars in the old sense. The whole
Okay.
supermental race will be avatars only. Because it is divine coming into matter. So it is absolutely correct, the interpretation of the last avatar. And also interestingly note that the Kalki is lame, okay? And actually Srengda broke his leg. So you can see how even that fits. The small details fit very well. Okay? We can stop today. So those who don't believe, we will not argue with them. But we believe that Srengda is the last avatar.
But
Okay.
he said that he will come back, no, in the first supramental body, born
Yes,
in the supramental way.
that's what Srengda said. He told me. At that
But
time,
I've still not understood the supramental method of reproduction.
why, Yasmin, it is so simple. You will be able to yourself, with your own power, you will be able to create.
So the soul, the supramental soul will create itself, correct?
Yes, that's right. It will create its own
Okay.
body. It will create its own body. First a subtle body, then a gross body. But a gross body also will be subtle. Okay? The supramental body will not be rigid. There will be no bones, there will be no organs. All this is discussed in the manifestation upon us. They will be replaced by energy centers of energy, the chakras. They will take over the functions of the organs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rangada,
Yes.
I have an English question. I have an English question.
Pardon? I didn't follow what you're saying. Okay.
I have an English question. English question.
Yes, go ahead.
In the previous para,
Ah.
in the previous para, the first sentence says, this movement of evolution of a progressive self-manifestation of the spirit has to make its account at every step. What does it mean? I mean, make its account, has to make its account at every step. I couldn't follow the full meaning of this.
Okay. Yeah, I have understood what you're saying. The movement of evolution of a progressive self-manifestation of the spirit in a material universe has to make its account at every step with the fact of the involution of consciousness and force in the form and activity of material substance. What Sridhar is saying is that the original substance of evolution is inconscient, darkness. Okay? Now, when a grade of light comes into this darkness, it has to necessarily subject itself to the darkness of the inconscient. And how much? It depends on that amount of light it is bringing in. Life brings a little bit of light into the darkness of inconscient, and you have living creatures. It's making its account. But the next one, a slightly higher account. It is slightly more. When mind comes in, the light that it brings into the darkness of the inconscient is a little more. So this is what he's saying. It has to adjust itself to the darkness of the inconscient. That's what it means. It has to make its account means it cannot insist that I will be life fully. I have to take into account the conditions of darkness in the inconscience. That's what it means. It has to make its account.
So make its account means like take the darkness into itself whenever it put on its own light.
I'll put it another way. Okay? Make its account means it cannot insist on its own way. It has to take into account what it is entering into. It's like a business deal with somebody. Okay? I want a perfect business deal, but the opposition, the other party, will want also a full deal. So you come to a compromise. So that compromise is the account.
Okay. So it's kind of a persuasion too. Compromise and persuasion.
Pardon?
Persuasion too. Persuade.
Can
So-
it also be a form of resistance? Like you put your hand out to shake with somebody, and the other person has to also put the hand for you to have a handshake.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Same thing.
Okay, thank you. I understood now.
Now it is clear? Okay?
Yes, Rangada. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm closing.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
You all have a nice day.